Hello, and on behalf of the Mindalia.com team, welcome. Today, Estela Well is joining us to tell us about how to change your beliefs in 5 simple steps. Let's talk a bit about her. Estela Well is the creator of SincroEmotion therapy, focused on emotional management. She is also an expert in the synchronization of cerebral hemispheres and morphopsicology. So now let's not delay these any further, and let's say welcome to Estela. Hello, Estela. How are you?
Hello, sweetheart. How are you doing? It's such a pleasure to be here again. And greetings to everybody who is interested to know how to change your beliefs in five simple steps. So let's start. Let's not lose any more time because we have a lot of information to go through. Why changing your beliefs at all? We have been taught to defend them under any pressure. Abandoning your beliefs seem to be socially disregarded. If you abandon, you're weak, you're covered, you're a betrayer. That moral responsibility prevents us from changing beliefs even when they are obsolete. Normally, changing feels like we're to clash with our family, with our closest people, which is a price too high to pay for our individual happiness and freedom. Are we aware of our beliefs? Most of them are unconscious and irrational. They make us act or prevent us from acting without even understanding why we're acting in a certain way. Most of our beliefs come from an early childhood, and they are inherited from our parents and our family. They are not ours. They're not differentiated. Beliefs have to serve our level of consciousness. When it grows, so do the beliefs. When do we have to change them? When our beliefs limit us from being, doing, or having what we really want and desire. When is the right moment? When our beliefs limit us from personal growth and evolution, when they imprison and cause suffering, when they make us depend on third persons and their decisions and opinions. I'll give you a number of examples of limiting beliefs and just make sure you know how you feel about them. Just feel it for a second. For example, I'm not good enough. I'm not important. I'm stupid and ridiculous. I'm ugly and I hate myself. I won't be able. I can't. I'm a loser. I need to help others in order to be a good person. I don't deserve it. I don't deserve to be happy or to be loved. I need others to be complete. This is how I am, and I can't change it. I'm always alone. Nobody ever understands. The world is hostile. Everything is so unsure. Feeling is unbearable, is being weak. Every winter I get sick. There is nothing I can do to change it. I never get lucky. Life is not fair to me. Earning money is tough. You have to sacrifice yourself. Talking is useless. My parents never loved me. To reach something in life, you have to be aggressive. Now let's change and let's see a number of empowering beliefs. Let's contact with them and let's see how we feel about them. What's the difference? For example, I know what I want. I feel complete and thankful. I've got what I need and it's enough for me. I deserve the best that life can offer me. I feel comfortable with myself. I am not guilty of anything. I'm sure that I'm always going to try my best. I feel proud of myself. I'm prepared to have mature relationships. I can earn living doing what I really love. I feel free from my past. I'm a good person. I have nothing to be ashamed of. I don't need to prove anything to anybody. I don't need to suffer anymore. I'm good enough. I don't have to be perfect. I can give myself what I want. Being nervous doesn't help. Everything is possible. Life is a gift. You don't need to deserve love. I get well very quickly. There is nothing wrong with me. Now, when you check the difference between those two feelings, I'll invite you to make a simple experiment at home. Let's put 3 equal jars with humid rice, some rice and water. Let's put a sticker that says, "You're great and I love you," on the first jar. Let's put "You're awful and I hate you" on the second jar. And let's put nothing on a third jar. Let's put those 3 jars in a row in the same place under the same conditions. And every single morning when we wake up, we'll say to the first jar that it's great and I love you. Let's say to the second jar that it's awful and we hate it. And let's say nothing to the third jar. And we won't even look at it. Just nothing. 2 weeks later, see what happens and what is the result. I won't make a spoiler. Probably some of you know the result, but please try to do it and think that neuropsychologists say that you produce about 60,000 thoughts a day. If those thoughts make those results happen to your eyes, imagine what happens to you when you think those things. What stories do you actually tell yourself every single day? Most of our beliefs come from the times of unconsciousness. When we were less than 6 years old, we needed our parents to explain every single thing that happened on a daily basis in our life. And that is how we started to believe that all of that was an absolute truth. This is the period of our life when we only can use our right hemisphere, which mostly manages our emotional experience. The rational part of our mind was not available yet, so we could not question anything. We got those installations automatically. By the time of 6 years, when our left hemisphere was functional, the main part of our beliefs is already automatically installed in our brain. As our brain is divided into 2 hemispheres, most of childhood beliefs stay in our right hemisphere and never get connected to our rational part, which stays in the left hemisphere. Basically, those beliefs are our subconscious resistance every single day of our life, and we're not aware of it. So we don't remember our past. We don't remember what happened in our childhood. This is our age of unconsciousness. These beliefs are supposed to serve our objectives in life, but very often they are out of context. If those beliefs do not serve our purposes, why do we need them? Therefore, our conscious beliefs make our reality. Your mind makes it happen when it's already there. Every single person lives its own reality, which reflects its beliefs. Beliefs, in other words, are your reality filters. If you don't live the reality that you like, start with identifying and changing some of your beliefs. The most difficult part is how to get an access to your unconscious mind. which controls more than 90%. Actually, I think it's 98% of your daily activity and decisions. Since 1964, it is proved by scientists that our brain is plastic and it's constantly changing under all sorts of external stimulus during all over our life. So why don't we choose stimulus? This is why in our adult life, we have to choose our beliefs consciously to serve our objectives. We can rewrite our brain programs knowing how to do it. However, what we should not do is changing our irrational beliefs to those that are not ours, but new ones. Most of the emotional therapists offer us a radical change, a direct transfer from our traditional installations to those that are proposed by them, by the therapists or whoever it is. I'm not very optimistic about that approach. I'd rather adapt it to our natural evolution in life as individuals. Of course, the positive thinking is and motivation is appreciated, but it's rather applicable when we're competing, we're doing sports, we're going strongly to certain goals in life. But in everyday life, in human relationships, winning is not always a good result. Sometimes you lose winning, sometimes you win losing. You have probably seen many people being frustrated despite all the positive thinking and all the learning that they have consumed during life, because life is not a moment, life is a process. So for me, a key point is to be able to install all the new beliefs as they are coming naturally into our life and our experience, which is called brain contrast. So how do we do it? Our limiting beliefs are based on emotional trauma, based on the primary emotions: fear, guilt, and shame. These three primary emotions come from an emotional attachment with our parents. All these situations that we lived in our childhood, when we didn't feel attached, protected, loved, cared, and recognized by our parents and closest people, have created an emotional trauma and a number of limiting beliefs about ourselves. And that is something that we do not remember. What happened? How it happened? What was it? So how can we reach those memories? How can we get to them? If there is something that connects us to those past memories, our childhood, it's the physical discomfort that emotions produce on every day basis when we're overwhelmed with something, when something is making us suffer. Let's focus those physical feelings inside of our body and let's see how and where we feel them, and let's measure them from 0 to 10. The next step is to follow those feelings and remember the first time when we felt exactly the same thing. The very first time when we felt exactly the same physical feeling inside of our body. The memory might take us to several circumstances in life, but the most important is the one that happened before we were 3 years old. That can be the origin of our suffering, of our beliefs. The emotional trauma responds to several crucial symptoms. The first one is a disbelief. Most of the childhood trauma is not integrated into our brain. We suffered a lot, we suffered during a lot of time, but we didn't understand why we suffered. We didn't understand what was happening at that moment. We did not express that either. We could not. Our resources were limited and we could not even talk about it to anybody. which means that this memory file stays in our right hemisphere. Remember that we only could use our right hemisphere, and it has never been connected to the left one, the rational one. That contains our recourses. So the second symptom of the emotional trauma is an emotional disturbing, a discomfort, physical and emotional discomfort that we feel inside of our body. If we analyze that feeling that brings us that memory, it's always disturbing and unpleasant, and it's as fresh as if it happened yesterday. It's out of time, it still matters, and many, many years ago, we still feel like it makes us suffer. Those are the problems that we have to resolve in our 5 steps to change the beliefs. The first one is focusing an emotional discomfort inside of our body. The second one is we have to check if that memory from our childhood stays in the state of disbelief. We can use simple exercise to connect our right hemisphere to the left one in order to exchange the information from one side to another, copy a file so that it's available for your rational resources. Basically, we're going to copy that file from the right hemisphere to the left one and make sure that it's identical. In order to achieve that effect, you have to use 3 elements: a daylight or electric light, your eyes, and your hands. And we'll make an exercise that is called one eye at a time. One eye at a time. Just close one eye with your hand and say what you don't believe. I don't believe that being so little, I could be so scared with the darkness. I cannot believe that my parents were discussing and screaming and they didn't realize that I was so scared. I cannot believe, blah, 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 blah. You just say what you don't believe and you change your eyes in order to be sure that the information comes from one side to another. Just exchange the information about 4 or 5 times or 6 or 7, whatever you need to make sure that you're moving the information from one side to another. To ensure the hemisphere integration, we will exercise a third tool, which is called karate point, which means tapping on your hand side over the acupuncture points over here or over here, using the emotional freedom technique, which is very famous. Basically, we are going to tap over here and say something like, though I don't believe that something like that happened to me, being so little, saying exactly what we don't believe at that moment, but I decide or I choose to believe it as it is exactly what happened and how I felt it. So I let it go because it happened a lot of time ago and it doesn't serve me anymore. Let's repeat the same formula 3 times and check if you can believe it on both of your eyes and on each of your eyes. Do I believe that I was so scared of darkness when I was a little boy or a girl? Do I believe that my parents were quarreling and screaming and they didn't realize that I was looking at them and I was very scared? Probably what happens on both of your eyes is you believe that situation. We're out of the disbelief. Let's check if that memory still disturbs us and how much it disturbs us inside of your body. Let's compare that feeling on each of your eyes. So we realize that our physical discomfort is different when we change the eye. When I check the discomfort of my memories inside of my body with this eye, I probably can measure it like 6/10, for example. And when I check on this eye, I probably realize that it's less or more. It's 5/10. it's 8/10. So the information is written in a different way on both of your hemispheres. Every time we change the eye, we activate and compare the level of discomfort, and it decreases every time we shift from one eye to another. So in only 5 or 6 shifts, we can go from a really high level of physical and emotional discomfort to a very low level or to a 0 point directly. This is a very secure way of neutralizing all kind of emotional trauma and changing your beliefs. As soon as you connect the information with your rational part, the beliefs come to a change, a complete change or partial change, because you're connected to your new reality, your everyday reality as you're living it right now, not in the childhood. As you have integrated your past experience and connected it to your rational resources, your limiting beliefs have changed immediately. Emotional discomfort disappears and gives way to those memories and ideas that have not been available before because they were blocked by the emotional discharge and discomfort. So, however, if your emotional discomfort is resistant because it's something very old and very disturbing, I can give you a 5th complementary tool to practice, which is called Erase the Pain. What we are going to need is a visual point like that. So we're going to look and follow the visual point over here. And the visual point is going to change from one side to another, quickly from one side to another, and we're going to follow it with our eyes. Only we have to change from one eye to another. So basically the point is going like this, and we're changing like this, and follow with the point all the time. When the point is over here, we're looking at it with this eye, with my left eye, and when it's on the right, I'm looking at it with my right eye, and just go like this. We will have to follow it constantly while it's moving from one side to another. While the visual point is moving, we have to change the eye like 10 or 15 times or whatever we need. And we're going to remember about the feeling, the body feeling that we're having every time when we remember our childhood beliefs. Let's go and change the eye as many times as we want, while we're focusing on a physical discomfort to make sure that it goes down and disappears completely. Now, let's evaluate our feelings and our beliefs as to that vital experience that we had in the past, and we know it was crucial for the life beliefs installations. Let's choose one of the eyes and let's think about that moment. What do we think about it? How do we feel about it? A certain idea comes over, and it's probably a different idea about your past. Let's change the eye and let's check what happens with our feelings and our ideas about that crucial moment in our life experience, and probably a different idea occurs, but it's a very comfortable, a very peaceful idea, completely different from the one that we had 15 minutes ago. Both of our hemispheres are synchronized now into an integrated brain. From now on, it established a new connection, able to offer a complete response to our life challenges. However, I don't invite you to believe it. Just practice it for several times. Look for your past memories, those memories that make you feel uncomfortable, and practice those 5 exercises. Now, I'm going to close this part of my exposition. I'm going back to the lie because we would like to see if there are a couple of questions that we would answer. If there are some questions, the lie, please, I'm looking for them.
Of course, Estela, thank you very much for sharing all this information and all your knowledge with us. Of course, we've got questions, so let's try to incorporate them to our conversation. Luciana from Argentina is asking, I am always repeating negative thoughts to myself, even when I need, even when I try not to do it. Is a Spanish question, so I'm trying to translate it right now. Even when I try not to do it, how to change my mind? That's a very good question.
Exactly, Luciana. Thank you very much for your question. Most of our negative beliefs, as I told you, come from the family. So the first question that you have to answer to yourself is negative thinking a part of your family thinking? Is this a sort of a habit that you have in your family? So, because if this is a habit, you might be not aware of it, or you do not agree with it. But the key question that I want to answer, every time when you say those things to you in your mind, that you don't like yourself, you're not happy with yourself, you're not good enough, do you feel something inside of your body? Because if you can identify a physical feeling that is inside of your body, so you can compare it on every eye. Every time when I say to myself that I'm not good enough, I'm not decent, that I'm not prepared, I'm not professional enough, what happens inside of my body? I will check the feeling on this eye, and I'm going to measure it from 0 to 10. On this eye, I'm having 8/10. And on that eye, I'm having 7/10. So every time when I'm changing my eye experience, I'm feeling a different thing, and it goes down. Then when you're out of this disregarded feeling, when it's down, when you're comfortable with yourself, make sure that you remember what happened in the past. Do you remember your parents saying those things to you? Your mother saying that you're not good enough, you're not pretty, there are other children or other brothers and sisters that are better than you? When you go back and remember those memories, if you have them, make the same thing. But first, ask yourself, do you believe that your parents or close people or mother or father were able to tell you that you were not good enough for them? That they didn't like you were? And if you don't believe it, solve that first. I don't believe that my parents were able to say those awful things to me when I was so little. I don't believe that I was so upset about it. Look for some disbelief, because that means you're in a state of an emotional shocking. And that is the first thing you have to solve. Okay?
Thank you very much for your answer. Estela, let's continue with another question. Lupita Garcia from the USA says, does it work the same on a left-hand person? Thank you very much.
It works exactly the same, because we're going to compare things. The only difference is your left hemisphere is a dominating one. But it doesn't matter, because the right one is an emotional one and the left one is the rational one. Most of the people have a left hemisphere as dominating hemisphere, especially men. Women sometimes have a right hemisphere as a dominating one. That's why they contact with their emotions in a better way. but it works exactly in the same way. First, focus the stress, the pressure, and the unpleasant feelings that are inside of you. Then the disbelief, if you remember something from your childhood, and then a discomforting feelings that are present inside of you, but always pass this line, you know? This is the idea. You have to pass the line from the right one to the left one and from the left one to the right one to make sure that it's written in exactly the same way. That's what we call synchronization of hemispheres.
Let's continue with Caroline from the United Kingdom. She says, do all these negative beliefs have something to do with having nightmares at night? I cannot rest and I think I'm entering a vicious cycle. Is this possible, Estela?
Dear Caroline, absolutely yes. Actually, your dreams and nightmares is the only way that you're contacting with your subconscious mind. And this is a very good contact. If you didn't have that contact, you'd probably have physical problems because your subconscious mind contains all that information that you're not able to remember. And through those nightmares, you're trying to take bits and pieces from your subconscious mind. This is how you're making it weigh a little bit less for you in your lifetime. So why don't you work with your nightmares as if it was a reality, exactly in the same way? Every time when you wake up after a nightmare, without going to have your coffee, immediately put it down, as well as all the descriptions of your physical feelings produced by the nightmare. Just put it immediately without thinking, because that will contact with your feelings and emotions without passing to the left hemisphere, which is a rational one. You put it down, and then when you have a little moment, a free moment during the day, you just remember the physical feeling that is produced by the nightmare, and you measure it. How do I feel on this eye when I remember that nightmare? And how do I feel here? And you pass the information from one side to another until you get to 0 point. Okay? And if you don't believe what happens to you during those nightmares, then first solve the disbelief and then go to the discomfort. Okay? But use those nightmares as if it was your reality, and you'll get rid of the good part of that awful thing that, you know, is happening in your subconscious.
Estela, we've got a Spanish question, so if you agree, I'm reading it in Spanish and after that, I'm translating it to English. Susana from Spain. Hace menos de 2 años falleció una de mis mejores amigas de la infancia. Creo que en ese momento se desencadenó en mí una cantidad de pensamientos negativos que no he podido superar. ¿Podría ayudarme esta técnica? Less than 2 years ago, one of my best childhood friends passed away. I think at that point, I started having an important number of negative thoughts that I have not been able to overcome. Can this technique help me?
Absolutely, yes, dear Susanna. This technique helps you to develop a grieving because this situation is not the origin of all of those negative thoughts. What it did is connected you to your primary origin of that stress, emotional stress, okay? So what happened is that you already had, from the time of your childhood, several neural connections that were serving to emotions like fear, guilt, or whatever it is, the original feelings, the original emotions. And when your dearest friend passed away that connected and reinforced those neural connections that you were not aware of them. What it connected you to subconsciousness. So there are two tasks that you have to work about is resolving all this grieving period, understanding that one of your beliefs has to incorporate that death is a part of life, death is only passing to another state of energy. So this is something that you have to accept, and then see what kind of feelings and emotions and sensations does that make you live inside of your body. What are your fears? Where do you live them? How do you feel them inside of your body? And if there is any kind of disbelief, because probably that experience was very shocking for you, something that you do not believe. Can you believe that your dearest friend passed away 2 years ago and she's not with you? If you don't believe that, start with that. That means connecting that emotional shocking information with your recourses, and that's the first step you have to start with.
Lillian from the United States says, I'm going through a very depressive stage, so I listen to this kind of conferences all day, but I cannot find a way to start working. I really don't know how to do it, and I cannot find the strength to overcome it. What do you recommend me?
Thank you very much, Lillian, and I'm very sorry about your depressive situation. However, when you're telling me something like, I have depression or I have anxiety, I'm not quite sure what kind of feelings and emotions you're living. Doesn't tell me much about you and doesn't tell me much about your past and your way of feeling things. Do you connect with your body? Because when you're depressed, obviously you're not very happy, but what do you feel inside? What is the emotion that make you feel depressed? Are you living in the past? Are you going to the future? Are you staying over here in this very moment? What is happening with you and how do you feel it and live it inside of your body? What does depression means inside of you? Because all the persons are depressed in a different ways and all the persons feel different emotions when they are depressed. Obviously, when you say that you do not find force and strength inside of you, that means that probably this is the first thing that you have to resolve. However, you're telling us that you're looking, you're searching for information, you're watching the programs and stuff like that. So that is a very good way of starting. This technique has a very good idea inside, which means we're not going to pass through all the suffering again, all that suffering that brought you to this depression. What we are going to do is just check what is happening inside. And that's what, as soon as you've got that feeling, you can start working it with the eyes. Okay?
We just have a few minutes left, Estela, so we are trying to answer 2 questions more. Christina from Australia is asking, how to help our children to be more aware of their thoughts and the words they say? How to help them develop self-love? That's a very beautiful question.
Thank you very, very much, Christina. Indeed, it's a wonderful question because all those problems, the personality, the emotional focusing comes from childhood. So it's really very important that you maintain a real emotional contact with your children. Mothers have to be very attached to their children and understand that it's an emotional context which gives a security and a self self-esteem to the children. Of course, you have to understand that every period of growth has its own necessity. From 0 to 6 months, you have to ensure that your children are secure and they are very attached physically and emotionally to you. Basically, it's having your children close to you all the time. Then from 6 months to 12 months, you need to ensure that they have a chance to explore the habitat securely. This is very important. As soon as they explore and understand that mom is close, but she's not limiting me, you have a very important function of brain covered. And then the third one is from 1 year old to 3 years old. When a child is aware of himself, give him a chance to explore his creativity. As soon as you have security, exploration, and creativity installed, basically the most important thing of that primary childhood is resolved. Okay?
If you allow me, Estela, I just want to add something. And I think that's not only a mother's work, but also a father's work. So mom and dad must be very, very atentos. I don't know how to say that in English right now. Attentive, that's it, about their children, because we are two people, so we both have to work together. And let's go with the last question. Jose from Spain. As before, I'm reading it in Spanish and I'm translating it. ¿Cómo manejar el miedo que sentimos actualmente por la situación que estamos viviendo debido a la pandemia? How to handle the fear we feel because of the situation we are living at the moment with the pandemic?
Thank you so much, Jose. Actually, you cannot imagine the quantity of people who are actually living a terrible time. But please understand that the pandemic is not an actual reason of your fear. Probably the pandemic itself is a trigger point for the previous fears, those irrational fears that you probably even, you're taking from all the previous histories and your family suffering and stuff like that. You have never lived a pandemic in your life, so you cannot be scared about it. What can scare you is that you're losing your job or you're not controlling the situation, but that is a completely different story. The pandemic is not a reason. The pandemic is just a trigger. So why don't we go and see what is it triggering inside of you? Is it a fear? Is it a panic? Is it a situation that you're not sure about yourself? You're not sure about your resources? And let's go and see why you have those installations inside of your personality. Because I also know a lot of people that are happy during pandemic. They have got rid of so many unnecessary things in their life. And that is a very, very personal approach. So my recommendation is that go to see what is it triggering inside of your personality and search for the feelings that it's leaving you inside of your chest, inside of your stomach, and work with those feelings with the eyes. Okay?
Estela, thank you very, very much for sharing this space with all of us. It has been a real pleasure for me being here with you. And thank you very much, dear friends of Mindalia, for your patience, for your passion, for your patience, because we are not English. English is not our main language, but we are trying to do it our best, as you see. So I think this has worked perfectly. Thank you very much, Estela. And of course, you've got a few seconds for saying goodbye or just for sharing your final thoughts with us.
Thank you very much. I didn't expect for so many questions, and I'm really happy that we spent this 45 minutes together. I hope, guys, that you don't believe what I just told you, but you practice those 5 steps. They seem to be very simple, but please believe that they are very, very effective for your children, for yourself, and will make you a lot of good. Thank you very much to Mindalia Television as well for this chance. And as always, I'll be waiting you in my next conferences.
Thank you very much, Estela, one more time. And let me tell you about the people that has been watching us today. They join us from countries like Argentina, Australia, Spain, the United States, the United Kingdom, or Mexico. Dear friends, I just want to remind you that you can join us through our different channels that are YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Periscope, VUK, and Vaun Live. And we also want you to know that you can enjoy all our content in Mindalia Radio, 24 hours of conscious content. You can find this in our website, www.mindaliaradio.com. www.mindaliaradio.com. Before saying goodbye, we also want to remind you that you can collaborate with us by liking our content, leaving us a positive comment, subscribing to our different channels or platforms, and of course by sharing this video with someone else. Finally, if you want, you can donate through a link you will find in our website, www.mindalia.com. By doing so, you help us to keep creating more content like the one you have enjoyed with us today. And now, and having said all of this and feeling really, really grateful, we are ready to say goodbye for now, but just until a next Mindalia live streaming. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you soon.